Welcome back to the channel. It is I, the J-Shot, and did you know that years before the UFC was even a twinkle in Art Davies' eye, a man named Frank Dux was making his way through Hollywood, telling anyone who'd listen about all the wild martial arts stories he'd amassed in his incredible career. Soon, a script based on his memoirs was penned, showcasing the days when he was running from military police, hooking up with haughty reporters, kicking every ass that got in his way, and not to mention showing off his own. And in the late 1980s, some likely powdered up producers decided that this story needed to be told on the silver screen, and just like that, Bloodsport was born. Arguably the greatest martial arts movie of all time, and definitely the reason so many little brothers got the wind knocked out of them, the film to this day, more than 30 years later, continues to be held in incredibly high esteem, even if Frank Dux' reputation isn't. So sit back, grab a bucket of popcorn, hike your pants up to your armpits, and join me as we revisit an absolute classic. Director Newt Arnold wastes no time, other than a few establishing shots of Hong Kong, before showing us the wide-ranging techniques and various disciplines on display. Not unlike what they did in the first few UFC events that would follow half a decade later. The ice block shattering kicks, board obliterating flying knees, and coconut freeing chops set the tone. And a bit of exposition helps make it immediately clear just what this movie is all about.
You feeling going to Hong Kong?
I love anything with full contact. Need a few more scars on my face.
Tomorrow, we leave for the Kumite.
Thanks for speaking English for the benefit of anyone that might have been listening. Our first glimpse of the star of the show, Jean-Claude Van Damme, playing American military hero Dux himself, comes when he's told the colonel would like to see him. Something about his plans to go to Hong Kong. JCVD tells him he'll be right there after he takes a shower, which the random soldier guy responds with,
"But I'll have to wait, sir."
So then, of course, in the very next scene, he's waiting while Van Damme takes that shower. Or does he? Seems sly old Mr. Dux has pulled a disappearing act, something he likely learned in ninjutsu school. And just like that, an international manhunt begins. But first, our hero heads to the home of his shidoshi, Senzo Tanaka, and we are treated to some of the worst acting ever put on film.
He's resting now. He'd be so happy to see you.
No, not her.
It's so good to be here again.
The charisma was literally dripping off the screen. The sight of a fancy katana sets him off on a flashback to simpler times, back when he'd join his pals on their sword-stealing adventures, decked out in as much Giants apparel as he could wear. San Fran, New York, doesn't matter. He just loved Giants, apparently. After his friends bail on him, he sticks around to take a swift kick to the chops, and even though he speaks like someone at the tail end of their slap-fighting career, Tanaka assumes his failure to flinch is because he has the fighting spirit. Soon he's training with them on the reg. Sorta. I mean, really, he's just a punching bag for Tanaka's kid, physically and emotionally.
That's all for today.
Not yet.
Why don't you quit, Round Eye?
Anyways, that kid dies at some point, and Tanaka, who'd already lost his first family in that whole World War thing, is just over it. But when Dukesy Boy says, come on, he changes his mind and starts tossing him around and beating the shit out of him, and even attacking him when he's just trying to have his lunch. This continues until he's ready to represent the Tanaka clan at the top secret, yet also somehow highly prestigious, Kumite tournament. Wow, he really remembered a whole shit ton in that one flashback, didn't he?
I'm going to Hong Kong.
I have poured all my knowledge into you. In Kumite, you will need it.
Good talk. Next thing you know, he's riding a bus at the other side of the world, watching quietly as a guy in Hell's Angels cosplay harasses an innocent woman. Meanwhile, a reporter is cutting to the chase with some random men in a bar. No, not like that.
You two are here for the Kumite, aren't you?
What is Kumite?
Surprised that didn't work. I mean, when Dukes just casually strolls up to that same scraggly-haired giant while he's playing an arcade game, he offers up the goods real quick.
You want to see some real fighting, you can see me fight at the Kumite.
The two fast friends check into their hotel and meet their chaperone, Mr. Lin.
It's time to protect your nuts, guys.
Solid advice. The muscles from Brussels really bringing Paris Fashion Week to the streets of Hong Kong. Check out that ensemble. Leather boots, tank top, khaki pants hiked way up. Now, despite getting the
Okay, USA.
in order to prove he's part of the Tanaka clan, a demonstration of the dim-mak is required.
You don't look like Tanaka.
Apparently it was that or a DNA test.
Shidoshi Tanaka trained me.
What's the whole out?
A crowd forms, and after successfully administering the death touch to a brick, the big bad stops by to put his own spin on a classic.
Brick, not hit back.
We're a third of the way through the movie's runtime, and finally it looks like Dux is about to lay down the law when a guy challenges the reporter to a slap fight right in the hotel bar.
He's the American shithead who makes tricks with bricks.
Dude, considering what that tuft of hair you're holding onto looks like, interesting choice of words. After saving her bacon, Frank agrees to an interview provided she goes to dinner with him. Just standard journalism stuff.
Welcome, warriors of the world.
Okay, Kumite time has arrived. Our heroes traveled great lengths to get here and have been focused on the task at hand. So now, while two fighters get ready to square off, Mr. Lin remembers he should probably tell them the goal of this entire exercise.
There are 3 ways to win. You knock the guy out, your opponent quits. You throw the fucker right off the runway.
In the first match, a karate man and a kickboxer go back and forth until one wins via pit fatality.
That's why they call this thing Bloodsport, kid.
Do they though? That match is followed by the Big Jackson crushing his Teen Wolf looking opponent after being sent into an absolute rage when a kick connects with his nose.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody! I wanna kill you, man! Yeah, you, man!
He says to a guy he's never even seen in his life before returning to the stands still covered in blood. That guy turns out to be Chong Li, the most diesel dude in the whole ass Kumite, and also the reigning champ apparently. His first fight is weird. His celebration, even weirder. But it's good enough for a new world record. Gee, imagine if he didn't slowly saunter toward his opponent at the start. Duxie is up next, and he draws his old pal from the bar.
Now I'll show you some trick or two.
Like how you managed to get that ADR-esque bass in your voice? The fight is a new world record, landing the Frankster directly on Chong Li's radar, and giving Jackson reason to come completely unglued.
First fight in the Kumite broke the fucking world record!
If only we all had hype men like him. Similar to another first-of-its-kind fight, a tooth is lost in the exchange, which this guy grabs and places, yep, in his own mouth.
Tooth came out.
Yes. Kathy, did you catch that too?
Lots more fights ensue, including one with a guy who has the hands-down most exhausting fight style in history, all set to one hell of a 80s banger. Now, as a kid, this sequence full-on melted my mind. When they asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, I didn't say doctor or lawyer, and I certainly didn't say YouTuber. I said winner of the Kumite, and cold-cocked anyone who told me that wasn't a real job, goal, or even thing that existed. Now that the tournament has been whittled down from like 200 guys to who knows what it's at after all that ass-kicking, it's time to advance the B-plot. Federal agents are trying to track down Dux, and when they get a hot tip on what hotel he's staying in, they waste no time.
I ain't your pal, dickface.
This launches perhaps the best chase scene in the history of cinema, and one that was memed into a Mentos commercial before anyone even knew what a meme was.
Nothing gets to you, staying fresh, staying cool, with Mentos fresh and full of life.
I can't top it, so I won't even try.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Frank goes straight from the streets to the sheets with that hot reportrix who wants the Kumite story bad and his bod even badder. But even after getting the dim mak from Dux, he still refuses to smuggle her into the event. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, hun, but he's just not that into you.
This isn't the first time I've had to go undercover to get a story.
Wow, there's desperate, and then there's that.
I'm looking all over for you. I gotta get out of here pronto. I got a stage 5 clinger.
So everybody from day one, plus one reporter brought in by the biggest cuck in Hong Kong, are here.
Good, you're a good fighter. You, good. Good.
The fighting continues, and we see a Muay Thai clinch. Van Damme adjusts his balls without using his hands, and Chong Li release a guy's shin bone from the prison that is his body. It's at this point that anybody above the age of 10 would start questioning just how many fighters are involved in this, as there seems to be no slowing down in sight. But at the same time, there's more cool fighters, sweet moves, and strange celebrations to take in, so let's not think too deeply about it, and just enjoy things like JCVD taking a page straight out of Keith Hackney's playbook for the win. But it all comes crashing down when Jackson gets matched up with the Chonger and goes in confident AF. Even though he looks poised to bust more parlays than Michael Bisping at UFC 199, that confidence bites him in his Harley-riding ass, and with Dux restrained by a 120-pound man, into a coma he goes. One of those comas where you sometimes open your eyes slightly. You know the type.
I'll get back at Chung Lee.
What is there to understand about a bunch of guys who have to prove themselves by beating each other's brains out?
Yeah, when you really think about it, she kind of has a point.
You're blowing it, Frank. Forget about the girl.
Easy for you to say. With a mullet like that, the ladies are probably lined up around the block. Some soul searching while stretched out atop the city helps Frank get his mind right, and following a few quick assaults on some police officers just trying to do their jobs, he's back in the Kumite mixing styles and changing minds in no time. Seems the tournament planning could have used some reworking, as apparently there's just 2 semis and a final left to go. So once Chong Li literally kills his opponent, which he's surprised to find out everyone is kinda not really down with, it's time for the main event.
Prepare the platform for the final match.
The 2 combatants very homoerotically ready themselves for the big fight. Hey, I'm pretty sure Chong Li can stuff his own shorts, thank you very much. Just like Van Damme did each day before filming began.
You break my record. Now I break you like I break your friend.
What a heel. The fight itself is a bit on the surreal side. Drop kick off the ref, 1 kick turns into 3 or 4, a gentle toss across the canvas, and even a complete flip over top of a hard-charging human being. But everyone seems to be enjoying themselves at least, and that's what's important. That is until Chong Li turns to Cheat Li, throwing pocket sand into Dux' eyes. Not sure what his plan would have been if Dux wore glasses or goggles, but in this case it works a treat. He's now blind, which is a bit of a problem, as I'm assuming being able to see was a decent part of his game plan going in. He proceeds to get his ass kicked in slow motion, Chong Li savoring every second of his soon-to-be victory, until something magical happened at that old Kumite. As you'll recall, Dux is trained for this exact scenario. He don't need no stinking working eyes, which he remembers just in time because, holy shit, imagine Chong Li landed this shot. He makes his way around the canvas like a kid playing Marco Polo, landing a few kicks and missing a whole bunch more, much to the joy of his love interest. Eventually, 4 flying spin kicks, precision targeted to the jaw of Chong Li, do the trick. And temporarily blind Dux looks all around the room while instructing the now former champ to stand, which he does once again through ADR. And with that, the crowd goes wild, including the federal agents tasked with arresting our hero and bringing him back to US soil to be court-martialed and prosecuted. He's bestowed his very own samurai sword that he didn't need to steal by this incredibly honorable organization who just last year crowned a murderer as their champion. A quick trip to see his injured alcoholic pal he met 3 days ago.
I love you, my friend.
Me too.
A little teasing of the hapless agents who trusted him to just show up at the airport.
You son of a bitch.
One last close call from the Stage 5 clinger, and we freeze with text that hammers home this entire ordeal definitely happened. In case it isn't obvious already, this is easily the best movie ever made. An hour and a half of non-stop ass-kicking by someone with a great ass. Some might say it lacks plot, or that it makes no sense, or both. But to that I say,
you know, you're really a pain in the ass, you know that?
I mean, look, it's pretty simple. The real-life Frank Dux still to this day holds 4 world records. Fastest knockout, okay, 3.2 seconds, not too shabby. Then fastest punch with a knockout, which is like not even half a second. For fastest kick with a knockout, we'll switch the measurement to miles per hour, 72 to be exact. You know, I'm really glad the Kumite people had the specialized equipment to monitor all this. Oh, and of course, that one time he knocked out 56 guys in a row en route to winning a tournament that we'll have to assume took the better part of a year to complete. 1988's Bloodsport is truly Jean-Claude Van Damme's magnum opus. And while that might not sound like much today, there was a time when this guy was putting out banger after banger, tweaking the plot of each movie just enough that it could actually be considered its own offering. If you've seen it, you already know. And if you haven't seen it and you're watching this channel, well, that's a bit of a surprise, but I appreciate the support nonetheless. Maybe check it out while you're eagerly awaiting the next video. Like, share, subscribe, comment below to tell me what you thought of Bloodsport, and I will talk to you next time. All the best.